with love. And this is Parsha Vayechi, and we're going to start with a prayer merging the heavens and the earth, the heart and mind. L'shem yiku krisha brihu ushinite bi'ilo ar'imulaya chimyuki b'vavke b'yidar shalom Hashem kosriel kolam amen. This is the last Parsha in Bereshit, so it's like the base going forward, Malchut, the really earthly plane. And it starts out with Vayechi means, and he lived. That was the last 17 years of Yaakov's life. But there's more than and he lived. He was alive. Finally, he felt fully alive. The number 17 in what we call Gematria is good, or Tov. So it was alive and good years, joyous years. Now, what happened that he could be alive? Here he is in Egypt, but he's with his full family. He sees the future that he'd seen in his prophetic vision. But most important, even though Egypt represents the ego, outer and inner ego, most important, he's hamakom. He's centered in God. That's really the key thing to the whole thing. Everything goes on around us. And how do you be at peace and alive? We live in a world that someone is trying to take away our aliveness, wearing masks, and when we know they don't, the research at the CDC shows they don't really make any difference whatsoever. Research in Denmark shows it makes no difference. And now we find out there's a study with 10 million people that shows that if you're asymptomatic or have no symptoms, you don't spread anything. It's like, but all these things are being imposed on us. Okay, I'm just giving that as an example. This is not a... and how do you stay alive? You got to remember the truth of who you are. Hamakom. And that's what's happening for Yaakov in that way. It's like, he's alive, he's remembered the truth, and he can see through the illusion of the outer world. That's really, really the key. He's no longer caught in the illusion. He's finally awakened. And he's let go of all his ideas of how it should be. And I'm going to say that something that comes up a lot for people is this idea of perfection. The world is not exactly perfect. Our life situation, for most people, is not exactly perfect. And it's important to let go of the illusion of perfection because it creates a negative thought pattern. I can't do this if it isn't perfect. No, that's not the truth. Yaakov could do it. Moses could do it, being outside the land. It is being in Hamakom, centered in God, which is the key thing. And that helped us see through Amda Shikra, which is the world of illusion. That's key. But when you're feeling the non-causal peace and non-causal love and non-causal oneness and non-causal joy, it's a lot easier to see through the world of illusion. Because what happens outside of us doesn't really have much of an effect on us. Not that we're disconnected from the world, but we're non-attached. So we're far less affected by it. So that's a big message here of Yaakov and his sons and what to do. Now part of this goes back to a very ancient teaching. When Alexander the Great was talking to the Hebrew sages, he asked, what makes you alive? And they said, to be dead. He said, what makes you dead? To be alive. What are they talking about? It's really the same thing. The ancient wisdom is, when you're dead to the world, but alive to God within yourself, that's what makes you alive. And that's the essence of Vayechi. That's really the core essence, is when you're dead to the world, you're alive to God, and you're alive on the internal planes. What happens on the outer plane affects you, but has very little effect. So that's one of the great messages we see here in this Parsha. Another message is when Yaakov is naming and blessing his sons, he actually calls upon what we call the Native American totems. Now, when we look at the whole essence of creation, humans have all the animal energies and plant energies and earth, domain energies within ourselves. Okay, now, we can call on those. He talks about Judah being the young lion and maturing into the king, the lion king. Okay, talked about Issachar, the donkey. What's that? It's a quality of persistence and hard work and carrying heavy loads. Talks about Dan, the ancestor of Samson. What did Dan have to know? He had to be a clever viper along the way to outsmart his enemies, which is what Shimshon did. So these are archetypal energies that we can call upon. It's not who we are. Okay, that's important. But we as humans can call upon the archetypal energies of a mountain, of the plant world, and of the animal world, and use those energies as we need it appropriately. And so when we talk about being fully alive, I'm a cone, feeling God within, touching into the non-causal truth of who we are. Now, there's one other thing along this. I call it getting slimed. Now, you think, well, if I'm doing all these things and it isn't perfect, maybe it's not so good. But getting slimed means most paths, most everyone's lives have a place where we get slime, meaning we take on negativities, we go in to rescue somebody and we pick up some of their energies. It's just part of what happens. And it's important not to let that stop us from living our life fully. That's what it means to be fully alive. That non-causal love and peace and oneness and joy, hamakom, and pulling on the totems. This is a very shamanic session here as he gives these names. You know, it's not like Issachar's a donkey. He has the energy of the donkey to pursue, to keep going. And so when we understand this whole picture, and I'm going to call it more of a shamanic picture, and also a liberation picture, because we're connected to the truth of who we are, and we use the different archetypes as part of our being in the world for all the four worlds. You know, as they say, the rock people, the domain, and the plant people, and the swimming, and really animals talk too, but humans have complex thought patterns. And that's what we mean by that, medibur, the power of that. So may everyone be blessed to know that we are given everything we need to wake up, to be fully alive, and the highest level of being fully alive is to be liberated. So may be blessed with Devikut Herut, the connection to God, and the enlightenment energy. And may we be able to live in that wild dance of the divine. Peace be with you. Shalom, shalom, shalom.